In 2022, the question of identity is something that is very important for a lot of Africans, whether you are at home in Africa, I mean, Africans in Africa, and also Africans in the diaspora. Of course, to those in the diaspora, it's even more challenging. But in overall, it's something that is very important. So when you say African identity, looking at it from the point of view of philosophy, what are we talking about actually?
Sorry. So the question of identity talks about a lot of things. It talks about how we evolve as a person, those things that we experienced, those things that makes us African. You know, we talk about our skin color. Our skin color is our identity, and it is Senghor, we call it the royal mahogany, call it the king color, because it adapts in every environment. There's nothing like tanging the African color. There's nothing like trying to stay where it won't pop and all that. And we have our culture, we have our belief system, we have all that. You know, most people, it's becoming funny enough that when people travel outside Africa, they want to change their accent, the way they speak. This is one of the things that I don't do. When I don't want to sound American. I don't want to sound British. I want to, when you listen to me, you know that this person is an Igbo person. So I speak, it becomes my identity. Because when an Indian speaks, you understand that this person is an Indian. They don't tend to fine-tune their accents. They don't tend to be what they are not. So we Africans also were suffered colonialism. It becomes part of them because you cannot deny the impact of imperialism. You can't deny the impact of two policies that affected Africa: assimilation and association. So you see all these things that become, when you look at them, you see how not just it x-ray the African identity, but how it also affects the African identity.
All right. I'm going to ask you a question relating to Fearism. I think that is where you majored in philosophy. If you can give us a background on that, because then I'm going to be asking you some questions also relating to Africa and maybe as Africa as we currently understand it today, so that you can give us some understanding in relating to why, for example, somebody coming from Nigeria, he goes to the international community and he pretend to speak like the British or like the Americans instead of speaking like in Nigeria, or if you want to say speaking like an Hausa or speaking like an Igbo or speaking as a Yoruba. Why? Because in other part of the world, that is how it is done. But in the case of Africa, we are awful time. Let me use your old term now, pretending to be who we are not. So and this is very problematic. But before we get here, help me understand this area you major in. What does it mean, and why did you choose this part? Why is it important for you, that area of your specialization in philosophy?
Okay, I'll start by defining what fearism is, and I will tell you where I also measured when it comes to fearism. Fearism is huge. So fearism has to do with the the study of the relationship between fear and life over in human history. There've not been uh, proper attention given to the study of this reality as such. So before then, people have talked about biologists, psychologists, and let me say physiologists that have said that fear is a negative emotion. But then coming down to the 20th century. Diaspora, the propounder of Fearism, is still a living philosopher. And Michael Fisher, Diaspora is from Dharan, Nepal, and Michael Fisher is from Canada. Diaspora runs the Fearism Studies Center, Dharan, Nepal. But currently, he's a visiting professor at University of Hong Kong. And we have Michael Fisher, who is an adjunct professor at University of Calgary, Canada, and also runs the Fearology Institute, Canada. So they started talking about this reality. And when I came across this discipline, I tried to understand, because I've been writing and researching about fear for over 10 years now, but I didn't get this perspective the way they defined it. But when I met them, I realized that there have been something missing. There have been there have been missing links. Now, to start with, the relationship between fear and life. Life is conducted, directed, and controlled by fear. Meaning that fear is a beautiful consciousness and not a negative emotion. And I will explain that because they have been argued over time. So now, in my attempt to trace the ontological foundation of fear, I took back to what consciousness is and the progression of consciousness. Perception, impression, and idea, borrowing the copy principles of David Hume, the empiricist. So now, and I said, if fear is consciousness as such, it means that it signals us about something that will happen. It also prepares us ahead of time. So if it is a consciousness that acts in that regard, its negativity or positivity depends on the reaction of the subject person, because there is a necessary connection between the subject of fear, which is the human person, the object of fear, that which is perceives, and fear factors, that which the human person sees. So if you look at it this way, you understand that in the past, people have been mixing fear with other emotion in the human person. So, and I said, if we understand our fears, instead of running away from our fear, it will help us to evolve better as a species. So, looking at it from this point of view, what now becomes the best fear management system? Overall, in human history, they have been talking about F3. Now, when you are confronted by objects of fear factors, you either freeze, flight, or fight or freeze. So, but they didn't talk about fearless. No, when in defining fearless, you talk about, like a Fisher will say, fearlessness. And most people don't understand that there is a demarcation between cowardice and being courageous and all that. So in the face of fear, you need to first of all understand and know how to manage it. So we've been working on fear management, under fear management education, developing fear management system, not just for the human person as a microcosm, but the universe at large as a macrocosm. So dividing it both for organizational fear management system, political fear management system, and all that, trying to get make sense of it, especially the world we find ourselves, where the politics of fear sells better, and politicians And most people and most leaders use this fear mongering instead of fact mongering to govern and to control their followers. I'll stop here.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. All right, now we are beginning to come down more into reality now, which is the thing that the people see. I think why people run away from philosophy sometimes is because there is a lot of thinking that you need to do, a lot of digging, a lot of reading, and a lot of uh, calculation in the abstract terms, no? Instead of maybe how much is a cup of rice today. We all know that. What is the price of what is the difference between the price of a bag of rice yesterday and today? Because people see that every day. But of course, there are other elements that actually control these things, which is some of which you are just touching now.